Hi everyone, it's Mommy of Two, Wife of One. I hope you guys have had a better week this week than you had last week. I know that the past couple weeks have been a little stressful in the country, but I pray that in your homes there was peace, there was conversation going on, and there was hopefully some conversations about change and, just some positive things hopefully happening in your household. Today I want to discuss words. There's a blogger that I love listening to. It's a blog called, well, it's a video podcast, not a blog, a video podcast called The Read. And one of the hosts, Crystal, she always says that words mean things. And she says them repeatedly, especially when celebrities say really dumb things that they may or may not have meant, but the words themselves cause a lot of damage. And the words themselves make those celebrities seem stupid. And I think about that sometimes when I'm speaking to my children, especially, but also to my husband. One thing I find myself doing sometimes when I'm talking to my son, especially because he's the older one, he's 7, sometimes find myself correcting him or fussing at him more than I'm giving words of affirmation or words of love to him. And when I catch myself doing that, I always kind of stop and make sure that I have some kind of balance throughout the day. And it's difficult because I love my son very much. He means everything to me. He's a wonderful little boy. He's smart. He's sensitive. He cares about other people. He's funny. He just has a thirst for knowledge for all things related to geography right now. He's a great little boy. But obviously, when he does bad things, it's my job as his parent to say things. And for me, it's hard sometimes to find that balance between loving my son and correcting my son. It is my job to correct what he's doing and to not necessarily fuss at him, but to let him know, hey, this is not how we do things. You already know the rules. We're not supposed to do blah, blah, blah. He and I had a conversation maybe like 3 weeks ago, and he had been particularly rowdy that day and just not following the rules, and I was raising my voice at him. And he said to me, Mommy, I don't like when you yell at me. It makes me feel sad. I said, well, honey, I understand that. I was like, but does Mommy wake up yelling at you? And he said, no. I said, Mommy ends up yelling at you at the end of the day because I've had to tell you throughout the whole day not to do something. One of the rules in our house, since we live in an apartment, is that he's not allowed to run in the house. We're on the top floor. We have people underneath us. He's not allowed to do that because I think that's disrespectful to the people in the building. So from the time he wakes up in the morning to the time he goes to bed, I'm telling him constantly, honey, stop running. Babe, stop running. Please stop running. Walk through the house. And I told him, after asking you to walk, or telling you rather, to walk and not run 15 times, now Mommy's voice is going to get a little louder. So you don't want to be yelled at, and I don't want to yell at you. But if I'm talking to you with a regular tone and I'm saying something repeatedly and you're not hearing me, then in my mind, the only way you can hear me is if I yell at you. We had a very upfront conversation about it, and he understood where I was coming from, and I understood where he was coming from. And so after that conversation, I really try my best not to yell at him and not to have that be my reaction. Like, I want to talk to him plainly and clearly because he understands everything that I'm saying. So I'm trying to do better with explaining things to him and explaining to him why I'm always correcting him. And one thing that, you learn as a parent is that, you don't like to fuss at your children and you don't like to seem like the bad guy, but I think it's less about being the bad guy and more about training them to be a good man or woman once they get older. So for my son, he needs to learn how to follow the rules in the house. So when he gets to school, he can follow the rules of the teachers. When he gets to, college, he can follow the rules of the professors. When he becomes a grown person, he needs to learn how to follow the rules from his boss. He needs to learn now what it means to follow the rules. And he also needs to learn that when you don't follow the rules, that there are consequences. And that's a life lesson that everyone needs to learn no matter how old they are. And even my youngest, who's 2, she needs to understand if you don't do this, then this is going to happen to you. Either you're going to get fussed at, you're going to get something taken away from you, or I'm not going to let you do something for a little while. With my son, he loves his iPad. So most of the time, if he's on punishment, which doesn't happen too often, but if he is, then I take that iPad away from him for a few days to let him know, okay, this is your consequence because you didn't do what Mommy told you to do. And again, sometimes it's hard to find that balance, but I think that's why I make sure I tell my son I love him all the time. I make sure I tell him that I'm proud of him. I have conversations with him. I have him help me with his sister. One thing my son loves to do, he loves to read. He loves to learn. He loves letters and all that stuff. I'm teaching my daughter letters now. She knows most of the uppercase letters, but she has difficulty with the lowercase letters. So as a treat for him and as a break for me, I had him sit down with her in front of the kitchen where we have a refrigerator full of upper and lowercase, thank you, sweetie, upper and lowercase letters, and I had him sit down with her as her professor for the day and teach her something. Now, for me, that was a break because they were off doing that while I was able to cook dinner or wash some clothes or wash dishes or whatever. But for him, it was a treat for him. It was almost like a bonus because he happened to be very good that week. He had no problems at summer camp. He was being obedient. And so you need to make sure that if you're fussing at your children when they're doing wrong, when they're doing right, make sure you have that balance of rewarding them. And even though our husbands and our wives aren't necessarily our children, the rule of, words having power and words having meaning rules in play when you're talking to your spouse as well. My husband, I love very, very much, but obviously there are times when I get on his nerves and he gets on my nerves. But I do understand the importance that words can hurt you, they can crush you, and the people who love you the most can definitely hurt you the most. So I'm very careful with the words that I say to him, and he's careful with the words he says to me. That doesn't mean that we lie to each other. It doesn't mean that we sugarcoat anything, but it's that we understand what's important enough to bring up in discussion and what's not important enough to let go. And I don't talk to him like he's my child. I talk to him like he's my best friend, like he's my partner, because he is. I give him that respect of talking to him like an adult and not making it seem like I'm talking down to him or like I'm telling him what to do or like I'm disappointing to him because he did X, Y, and Z. We have very frank conversations in my household and in my marriage, which I appreciate. And I think that's one thing that keeps our union solid is because we do talk to each other. And it's not necessarily that we talk for hours on end every single day, but if something comes up, we discuss it, and we discuss it as adults, and we have mutual respect for each other. He values my opinion, and I value his. And it's just very important when you're talking to your spouse, or even if you're thinking, sorry, even when you're thinking of getting married, it's very important that you are careful with how you speak to that person. Every person has their buttons, triggers that don't really make them feel good or whatever. So the longer you listen, when you know what those buttons are, so be very careful, especially in an argument, that you don't push those buttons. So to conclude, and I've been kind of rambling for a little bit, but the whole message is that just be very careful with the words that you say to your child and with the words you say to your spouse. When it comes to the words you say to your child, children repeat things. Sometimes they take things out of context. Sometimes they don't really understand what's going on. Just be very careful with what you say to them. Be very clear and be honest. And obviously, what you say to your child may differ depending on how old they are and depending on the subject matter. But when it comes to correcting what they do, don't feel guilty about that. It's our job to help them, to teach them that, okay, you're not supposed to do this. Okay, you need to treat people this way. Okay, don't be so loud here, and this is your inside voice, and this is your outside voice. They learn that all from the parents. So it's important that we teach them these things. Don't be afraid to open your mouth and tell your child something. And it's not about them embarrassing you in public or anything like that, but it's literally about raising them to be these great, respectful, honest, trustworthy, productive citizens once they get older. So that's my spiel for today. I hope that you guys, again, have an amazing week. I pray that you all are safe. I pray that you guys take the time to learn something new today. With the weather being as hot as it is, if you have the opportunity to work from home, please work from home. With your children, I was going to take my daughter out to the playground, but because it's so hot, I'm just not going to do that. But we're going to have a school day in the house, and we're going to learn, and we're going to sing and do all kinds of fun stuff. So have fun this week, you guys. I love you guys so much. Please remember to subscribe to my YouTube channel. Okay, come here. You want to say hi? Mom of Two, Wife of One. This is one of the mom of two, right? Okay. And also, yes, that's mommy. And no, because you can't say your real name. They don't know your real name. You can't say it, okay? After that, say baby. Okay. And also, make sure if you have, okay, say bye-bye. Say bye-bye. Very good. And if you have anything that you would like to ask me or any topics that you want me to address, please send me an email at momof2wife1@gmail.com. That's mom of the number 2, wife of O-N-E@gmail.com. I'm also on Snapchat, mom of 2wife1. Just contact me, like my Facebook page, like my, subscribe to my YouTube channel. Just say hi. So love you guys so much, and I'll see you guys next week.